Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome to Women in Transition. It is your host, Dr. Sasheen. So good to see you. We missed a week. Actually, we didn't miss a week. We took a week off. We had some things come up last week, kind of unexpectedly, and I didn't have anything in the can, so to speak. So we simply took the week off. There we are. Welcome to Women in Transition podcast, where we are Gen X women looking towards our next best chapter and making strides to make sure that we get there peacefully, whole, and intact. So, what are we going to talk about today? Well, I want to talk about an interesting study that I was reading, which is not necessarily that interesting because it's a fairly old study, but it's reaffirmed all the time. And so I think it's important as women of a certain demographic who oftentimes start to listen to some of the gaslighting that happens about older people, and that they're not as productive, that they don't contribute as well to society in some ways, even though we know that's abysmally not true. Some of us who get older don't contribute, but some of us contribute quite quite well. And one of the things that always strikes me as interesting when I have conversations about getting older and aging is the fact that women tend to, according to the science, tend to, as we get older, really begin to reach our cognitive peak in our 50s. So we might reach our biological ability to reproduce. Those golden years for women are in our late 20s, early 30s. You can definitely have kids earlier or later than that. But biologically speaking, science tends to support the idea that the childbearing years that are most optimal are somewhere in our between 25 and 32. I mean, the number is it's in the late 20s to to mid 30s range. You absolutely can have children after 35, 32, 35. But the reason that we get slapped with the label advanced maternal age has nothing to do with whether or not it says 22 or 32 on your chart. And it has more so to do with the biology of the body. Seems to be that we are more we are at peak optimal childbearing age in a certain window. Here's the thing, our cognitive prowess isn't peaking at the same time as our biological prowess, if that's how you want to put it. According to the science, women actually get better, clearer, smarter, more in tune and in touch with the world themselves, just overall more efficient at cognition as we hit our 50s. So the idea that in midlife things begin to break down on a physical level, things definitely begin to slow down, more so because we don't make the same efforts in our 50s to stay as physically active as we are in our 20s, teens, 20s, and 30s, right? We slow down and we think that we're slowing down because we're getting older, and sometimes forget that we're getting older sometimes because we're slowing down. The same is true for our cognition. Now, here's an interesting thing, right? If we're in, ladies, let me tell you, I want you to take this message and run across whatever goal line, whatever sports analogy works for you. Pick up this piece of information and run down the field with it. Biologically, our bodies are doing some things that we, in our, perimenopausal world, that make it seem as though our brains are frying. that is a but in reality, our bodies are going through some things, right? That's just biology. That's just so childbearing years, peak of childbearing years. Well, then after the peak, we start the decline, right? And so we have to do more to make sure that our bodies don't go into this transition at a hard skid, right? And sometimes it can feel like we're in a hard skid. But we're going to go through this biological transition. But what I want you to take heart is that your brain functionality, the things that your brain is trying to do, are actually getting better and better every year. And in our 50s, we start to reach that peak. We're so much more clear about life. We're so much more focused. We can get so many things done, which is actually why it makes a lot more sense to make some big decisions in your 50s that you maybe have been thinking, I'm too old to make those kinds of decisions because I'm no longer a young woman. Ma'am, you are actually at the right age to make some pretty big decisions about your life. And you are clearer now than you have ever been. Now is the moment to take the risks. Now is a good moment to try the new thing. Now is the new moment to shift into a completely new narrative. Now is the moment to run for something that if you wanted to always run for something, to build something if you've always wanted to build something. Why? Because we have a clarity that is coupled with a skill set that we've been working on for most of our lives. So not only are we clearer, we have skills to go with that clarity. Not only are we smarter and optimizing our cognitive functioning better, we're more content and peaceful so that we don't get riled as much if if we rock our boat, we're rocking the boat. Right? Okay, so I'm going to rock my own boat. But we know how to find our center within ourselves to keep the storms from consuming us. So as I was reading the research, I was talking to my friends about this, and it was like, it's so hard to hear so many women struggle and lament how, oh, I wish I were in my 40s still, or I wish I was in my 30s still, and not be able to say, but don't, because your brain actually is reaching peak optimal efficiency now. Now, right? In your 50s, in your late 40s, early 50s, into your 60s, like we're in this is the prime, not the muddy middle. It is the prime of our lives. If we stop relegating femaleness to our ability to reproduce other humans and look at the totality of our existence, our slice of reproductive possibilities is, yeah, you can have kids into your 40s, you can have them into your 50s, you can have whenever you want to have them. But optimal reproductivity happens when we're still not quite sure if we're adults yet, right? So biologically speaking, your brain at 25 and your body at 25 are not in the same place. And just because your body says, I could have kids, your brain's like, I don't want no kids. I'm still a kid myself. And your brain is right. Doesn't mean that we don't give in and have kids. Doesn't mean that at all. But it does mean that we have to remember I got 30 more years of growing and learning and living before my brain really starts to work like a well-oiled machine. So you marry this newfound cognitive efficiency, love that, with the skills that we have and our connection to our spirit. I'm not talking religion, I'm talking spirit. And you end up with this powerhouse of a woman, right? You end up with women who know what they want. They're smarter, they're clearer, they're more peaceful, and they're cranky sometimes. And you know why? Because our bodies, our biological imperatives, the biological things that are happening to our bodies take their toll and we get cranky. But do not let people tell you that it's because, oh, you're just old and cranky because you get cranky when you get older. No, we're older and we're cranky because our bodies are going through some things, number one. And number two, we are cognitively more efficient. And we're cranky because you're pissing us off. We're cranky because we have this history now. And we can see how to even more clearly how to efficiently get things done. Even more clearly, we can see how to protect our peace. Even more clearly, we can see our connection to all things. Even more clearly, we can see how to solve problems with a minimum of bloodshed. Even more clearly, we can see how to move entire cultures, countries, governments onto a better playing field if we're given the opportunity. We're cranky because people aren't listening, because they've decided that women in their 40s and 50s don't have anything as important to say and as if they would have if they were in their 20s and 30s. Now, I am not knocking my sisters in the 20s and 30s. Not knocking you. But this message is not for you because especially in a Western culture, youth is centered. What I'm talking to are the women who might be feeling forgotten, who might be wondering and struggling with this newfound awareness of feeling good in their own skin, of thinking more clearly than ever before, of having a piece about them that you just can't put your finger on where it came from, but it permeates everything, and then being cranky because people don't want to hear you. Because they want to poo poo you and call you old and cranky and menopausal when what you're speaking is a truth that they can't get to because they're not there yet. They're not there yet. But you know what? It's not our job to do. Drag people along behind us who are not listening. Welcome to the Over 45 Club, where we don't have to continually drag people along behind us who are not listening. They'll get there when they get there. Your job, your one and only job, is to figure out, okay, according to Dr. Sasheen and science, you ain't got to believe me, just go do the research. There is a cognitive efficiency that is here, even though sometimes my brain is muddled. That's a hormonal thing. Welcome to perimenopause, right? Even though I feel forgetful, even though I feel like my body's slowing down. Remember, we tend to slow down as we age, not because we have to, but because we just do. But then we also marvel at these people who are octogenarians who are out there running races and think to ourselves, it couldn't be me. Well, it could be you. Like, it could absolutely be you. It's a decision to not go out there and run races, right? So just because our bodies change hormonally doesn't mean that we can't continue to have a very good physical quality of life. It's just what we choose to do with our time. And I'm telling you, when we begin to put together, like the equation for us is really straightforward. Keeping up our physical um, activities as we age and move towards cognitive efficiency, and then all of a sudden, physical activity plus heightened clarity, plus grounded spirituality, plus clear peacefulness, clear consciousness, plus an ability to assimilate information efficiently. All of these things converge, and we've still kept up our physicality. You can't stop us. And we see this on a very public scale in some very important women in the world, right? Women in their 60s, late 50s, 60s, 70s, who are powerhouse figures in business, in politics, in education, in the arts, who are literally changing the game, making strides, being clearly focused, and changing the world. And what we tend to do is think, oh, that she's an anomaly in this, right? Like she's obviously I'm different from her. And I'm telling you that we're not. I'm telling you that the reason women in their late 40s or start moving into their 50s seem to become unstoppable forces of nature is because our bodies, our evolutionary leanings shift our body towards prime cognitive efficiency as we age through the 50s. So if you're in your late 40s, early 50s, and you've been thinking, I feel like I could do some things, but I'm getting older, but I feel like I've got something I want to do and I just don't know, do it. This is your permission to do it. One of the things that I've been preaching for episode after episode after episode is get your passport, get out of the country, go see the world. Do you have any idea how much more clear you'll become when you don't stress about what is happening outside your door? I am not telling you to run away, though you can run away if you want to. I don't care. What I'm telling you is at this age, if your inclination is to restart your life elsewhere, listen to yourself. Listen to the possibilities that are floating in front of you and know that you're looking at them in a much more efficient way than you ever have. You're not moving from a place of scarcity and not knowing what to do because you know how to live, you know how to survive. You got this far. You're moving from a place of understanding who you are, what you want, what you can do, what you're willing to do, how you're going to do it because you are so much more efficient than you've ever been. And our cognitive decline, we know that that starts. We know that there's going to come a time when the cognitive efficiency that I'm talking about is going to begin to decline. That the aging cells are going to keep aging. But those cells that I'm talking about are reaching their peak. And you know what they say, like we're still climbing up that mountain. We spend some time at that peak. We spend some time there. Take the opportunity to spend some time in that space and do the things that you've been putting off, that you've been too afraid to do. Now, this is a short and sweet one, but I read this and I was preparing for a different message. And I thought, I'm going to put this out there. So you're going to get 2 videos this week. But this is the first one. And I really would love for you to tell me, what does that do for you to realize that if I'm post 45 and I'm rolling into my 50s, or I'm post 50 and I'm rolling into my mid 50s, or I'm 55 and I'm rolling towards 60, to realize I'm rolling into peak cognitive efficiency. I'm rolling into grounded cognition. I'm rolling into alignment of brain, body, everything. What can you now do that you didn't believe that you could do yesterday? What is it that you've been poo-pooing and putting to the side and pushing off because you thought that's a thought for somebody who's fill in the blank, not this age, is in their 20s, da 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 da, right? You're not doing it because in your mind you've listened to society tell us that older women shouldn't. And though we like to say we don't listen to the conditioning of society, we can't escape it that easily because we've been swimming in it since the day we were born. So you get to be smarter, clearer, peaceful, and cranky all at the same time. That is where we're supposed to be. And the quicker we embrace that we're actually getting better, the faster we can begin to make strides on changing the things that might make us also feel better, trusting our gut, asking the questions that are necessary for us to make good decisions about our life, and believing that, okay, these temporary symptoms of menopause are just that. They're temporary. But what do we know? We know that what we do in perimenopause, sorry, I forgot to lock the desk down. What the things that we're doing now, is if you're in perimenopause, if you're waving at it down the street, but you can see it coming, the things that we do, the choices that we make are going to impact us on the other side when we're done with menopause, because menopause is a moment, at least in medical terms. Menopause is a moment where your last period is like there's nothing else, there's no more periods, and that's when they say that you're in menopause. Before that, it's all perimenopause, but we interchange the terms and I don't really care. What you want to keep in mind is that the decisions that you're making now in the peri stage are going to impact how you can live on the other side in the minnow stage, right? Take a moment to reflect on how clear you are about how you want your next chapter to look. What is it that you want the next chapter to look like? How do you want to live when you get there? Because every decision that we're making today is going to show up in a decade. So, what is it going to do? What is it going to do for you? How are you going to show up? Knowing that right now you are reaching beautiful cognitive efficiency. The peak of your cognitive prowess is right here. This is why women should run countries in their 50s, right? Because again, we can problem solve quite efficiently without drawing a drop of blood being drawn anywhere. Just saying. I digress. Give yourself permission, and I'm going to give you permission today to think long and hard. You only get a day. You don't need more than that. What is it that you're putting off that you could say yes or no to and get moving? Where do you want to be on the other side of a significant biological change, menopause? What decisions can you make now when your faculties are firing on all cylinders beautifully, even though there are those menopausal symptoms, right? I get that. But when your faculties are really firing in a way that can bring you such clarity and bring to you answers more efficiently, what can you do with this information that will change your life? I think you'll make some interesting decisions if you give yourself permission to do so. That's it. It's Dr. Sasheen. Thank you for listening. Please hit like, subscribe, and because the algorithm has changed a bit, it's important that you like the video, which lets YouTube know that you want to hear more of the video. Also, the anxiety solution ebook is out there for those of you who are struggling with the questions of who am I at this big old age that I am, and maybe having some anxiety about where to go next or how to work through some imposter syndrome, the feeling like maybe I don't know what I'm doing because I'm not quite sure who I am. I wrote the anxiety solution for you. It is an ebook right now. You can't get it in hard copy, but you can always print it out. It is a workbook. It is designed to help you do some work around your anxiety that will help you move forward. Take some logical next steps. That's it for the moment. Thank you all for tuning in. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.